Hello everyone, I'm Tony Damian.
And I'm Andrew Rich, and welcome to the latest exciting episode of Himalayan Bites. And Tony, we have yet another special guest with us today.
We do indeed. Our competition partner, Stephanie Panayi. Steph, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me.
Steph's going to tell us all about the Competition Taskforce and what it's looking at. Steph, what is the Taskforce looking at first?
Sure. So first cab off the rank for the Competition Taskforce is merger reform review. So the task force issued a consultation paper earlier this week, looking at merger reform options for consideration. These options are open for consultation until the 19th of January next year. So what the Competition Taskforce is examining is whether we need reforms to our merger review process in Australia. So at the moment, they are consulting on three potential options. It's interesting to note that actually they are not consulting on the current informal merger review option. So that seems to be off the table at the moment. What they are looking at is consulting on a suspensory process, and they are looking at whether the notification thresholds should be set, looking at who the decision maker should be. So is this a process where the HSF would need to take action in the federal court in order to prevent a merger, or is it a case that we impose an administrative review process where the HSF is the ultimate decision maker?
It's interesting, so as you say, not consulting on the informal process. It feels to me, would you like a hot bath or a cold bath, but you're having a bath?
That's right, exactly.
Steph, you talked about the consulting on thresholds. What are they saying about thresholds at this early stage?
Sure. So we're actually no clearer on the thresholds at the moment. And actually the consultation paper seems to be kicking that can down the road a bit because if we don't end up in a mandatory regime, it won't be necessary to consider thresholds. So we do know the HSC's position on thresholds at the moment, and that is that either the acquirer or target has a turnover of $400 million or for a global merger, a threshold of $35 million. But as I say, at the moment, we're kicking that can down the road.
Another aspect of the reforms, or potential reforms, is the possibility that they're going to combine the FIRB and ACCC processes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the consultation paper actually notes that 2/3 of the mergers that the HSC reviewed in the last financial year actually had FIRB component. And so it's not so much looking at a combination of those, but they are consulting on a sort of a referral process from FIRB to the HSC.
Which kind of happens at the moment anyway, my sense of things.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see where that goes. Steph, anything else in the work of the task force for the time being that's in addition to that?
Yeah, so like I said, merger reform is the first cab off the rank, but the task force is also tasked to look at a range of competition policy issues to do with transition to net zero. They're looking at non-compete clauses for preventing workers from changing employment. They're also looking at competition issues arising in connection with new technologies. But those are things that are coming a bit later. The task force is formed to report over a rolling sort of period of 2 years. So we're yet to see where we go with those other things.
Now, I'm sure the members of the task force will be watching this episode. Steph, what are your top tip or two for the task force? What would you like to see out of this?
Yeah, so I think in terms of merger reform, if we end up in a sort of a mandatory notification place, I think it would be really important for the thresholds to be clear. I think it would be really important for the timeframes for review to be clear so that merger parties have some certainty about how long a merger process is going to take. There needs to sort of strike a balance between what is the upfront information that the HSC or decision maker will need and what can be done in sort of more targeted RFIs. And I think a process that sort of sets that balance right will assist our clients to sort of manage costs, manage timeframes, and ultimately ensure that the right outcome is achieved.
Well, that's very, very sensible suggestions there, Steph. Thank you very much for the insightful comments on the reform proposals. It really is a time of change on the regulatory front. Tony, we've got one more episode this year. What are we going to do?
We do, and I know everyone will be very excited about it. We certainly are. It will be the Christmas lights episode. We'll see you then.